Derek Poundstone.
I've been training like a nut since September.
It's new world record level. We're now because Ortmar.
I will not take second again.
He said he was worth at least 20 pounds more than this, and he seems to.
How much more do you think you have in the tank?
I told you before, 427, the full apparatus.
And if anyone can do it, it's definitely Derek Poundstone in front of his home crowd at their feet. 414 pounds.
I don't know what everyone else can do. I know I can do it.
Yes, it goes overhead. He gets the signal to put it down. And he's taking it for a walk.
The goal in sort of re-engaging followers and posting social media content is kind of it's a complex relationship that I have with not just social media but just people in general. I started, rewind the clock to over 20 years ago. I originally started posting stuff on YouTube just as a method of not sharing with anybody, but just memorializing from my own perspective. Because I was worried, like when I was filming on media years ago, that the discs were so small. If I filmed a minute worth of content, that really would capture one set per se, and I just need to be able to delete it and then re-record it again. So I needed a repository for that. So that my original intention in posting stuff on social media, when many people watching this weren't even born, which is just insane, was just to as a not to memorialize my training because anyone gave really a shit about it, but just more to so I didn't have to buy another disc. I forget what drives it. It might have been a solid state drive on an old camera. And then I found out by posting, in forums and chat rooms started coming around. I noticed that people were intrigued with training styles, particularly when I was getting from powerlifting to strongman. It was people were interested in my training style, and everyone was an expert. And at that time I was a nobody. So if you fast forward after a couple of years of posting stuff and engaging online, bodybuilding.com wasn't even a thing yet. I realized this is a good way of me to sort of showcase some of the stuff that I was doing, that I wasn't just some 160-pound kid behind a keyboard. No offense to 160-pound kids out there. I mean, but at that time I was already in my late teens, and I was a high 600, maybe 700-pound deadlifter. I think actually low sevens. I had national powerlifting titles, and so it's a way of kind of adding a level of realism to what I was talking about, and then it sort of exploded when forums started coming around. Bodybuilding.com became a thing. I tried posting on there for a little bit, and everyone was an expert, and it just was very annoying. So now if you fast forward into where we're at now and what modern social media is, I feel like there's like a missing, there's a vacuum, when I see people post on my stuff. When I do post on social media, because I do like the attention every once in a while, people are usually curious about where I'm at, like what am I doing, and then obviously you guys have always asked me questions at the gym, and people that do approach me and ask me questions that usually they can't get me to shut up. I just sort of go on this tangent for 15 minutes of going into this philosophy, and my approach to training is very philosophical. I'm not black or white, hot or cold. It's more of an ideal. Like for me, it's just train hard and achieve goals and be a better version of yourself. And that it's not like about it's a touchy-feely like be a better person, but it's also just challenge yourself, because if you don't challenge yourself, you're not going to change. And it's like that's human nature, right? Like we want to adapt and evolve as people. So I feel like that's kind of a lost message. What I did was cool and stuff, but then to like the younger crowd, the people that don't know what I represented, I think it's re-engaging everybody is a way to sort of show them that nothing really came easy for me. Quite the opposite. What made me different from other athletes or other people is I'm stubborn. I hate being told what to do, which is interesting. And I work in a profession where I tell people what to do and people tell me what to do. Um, but I found a way in life that has worked for me. And it's not because of anything else other than I found the gym at a young age. So the gym has helped me achieve a level of success both in and out of, in and out of the gym. It's taught me a lesson in life about how to approach things. So that's I think my legacy, and that's what I preach to my kids. Jordan and Callan, and also when people talk about training, is there's no real easy answer. Like when people ask me about training advice, I'll give a lot of advice, but I think what it comes down to generally is everything works, but nothing works forever. You have to be willing to adapt and overcome. And outside like that catchphrase, as catchy as it sounds, it's really just you have to continue to evolve and change. Otherwise, that's the whole point with working out. I think that's the goal. Like if you continue to do the same thing, at some point in time, it's going to cease to work for you. So, and that's why I don't think I see a lot of people out in social media and out in the world that they get into it hard and heavy for 4 or 5 years. I've been doing this shit for a long time. I mean, 42, started working out when I was 13, so 29 years of just nonstop. I mean, I don't think I've missed more than a week. And that's because of usually serious injury or illness. So, I mean, I know a lot about this stuff. I think when you talk about legacy and my contribution, I don't think really much. Like there's not, like when I retired, I just stepped away. It just wasn't like, I didn't have there wasn't a lot of fanfare and balloons and, it's not, and I don't mean it like in a sad way. No, that's just not me. I don't really like I did it for fun. So when it no longer was fun, I just walked away. So, I think what I'm just trying to, really communicate to people is just a different mindset. I guess, well, I really don't know. I guess the idea of training and trying to achieve success is great, but what happens when you get hurt, or what happens, I think my contribution is more towards life than is towards training. Most people that watch a video like this would think about the training effect of going to the gym and being consistent. But in 2006, October 26th of 2006 to be exact, there's a video actually on out there, my video, deadlifting 805 pounds and ruptured a disc, and it caused a hematoma on my spine, and I thought I had to step away from the sport for good. And I went out the next day and I bought a Dodge Ram SRT10 and started, bringing it up to Lebanon Valley and Englishtown and drag racing it. I got into car racing, right? And then I got into motorcycles, and because it's just who I am. I have to push the limit, and I have to. That's just so. To kind of come full circle, my contribution is just that, you challenge yourself in the gym or wherever it is. I think just the point of just know thyself, right? Like Socrates says, the unexamined life is life not worth examining. For me, the gym is just a way of self-examination that I think, transcends the physical part of what I do, and so the contribution is, I say not much. I mean, it's more of the whole spectrum of life and experience as a guy approaching my mid 40s with a family and that has a lot on my plate. I think the goal is to make the gym the least important part of my life. You know, which is, it seems the opposite would be true, but that's the goal. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of purists would want to burn me at the stake for that. But I think, like, I want to work out, but I want to be a person. Like, I want to be multidimensional. Well, I think, you know, if I'm going to specifically define, you know, what I can contribute to somebody watching or listening to me, or that's followed my career in general, and is watching a video like this to get some sort of motivation, I think it's motivation to you know, find something you enjoy doing. And the gym for me, like, I don't train for health. I mean, what I do is, at this point in the game, it does keep me healthy, right? Like, I mean, if I didn't work out, I would just be a mess because my body's so beat up. But the goal is, for me, is just, again, it's really self-examination. Like, right, like, when I go to the gym, for me, it's just a way of doing some good hard work and being consistent, and, you know, and just enjoying something. Sometimes I enjoy it and sometimes I don't, but I always make myself enjoy it. So I think that would be my contribution towards the sport and in general, and the fitness community. If someone's looking at Derek Poundstone and saying, well, what's this? What do I have to learn from this guy? You know. Well, my wife says it best. You know, of course, when I'm not listening, or when she doesn't think she's talking to her friends, and she's paying me a compliment, which she doesn't do very often, is you know, besides being stubborn, is I'm consistent, right? Like, I just I'm relentless, I guess would be the better term. Like, I just really like to explore something, you know, very deep. Anything worth doing. Mick Jagger, I think, said it. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. You know, like, I started building a handful of years ago. I started building a Ford F-250, and I turned it into a monster truck, and I became an expert in the 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel engine, right? And rebuilt the tranny, and, you know, that's my legacy, I guess, is really just trying to really push this mentality of challenging yourself and really going down that rabbit hole. And ironically, people think, like, again, to go back to this idea that I want to make the gym the least important part of my life. I'm at the gym at most 5 days a week, at the absolute most for less than 10 hours. That's at the last 10 years, that's the most I've ever worked out. On average, I'm at the gym 3 days a week, 1 day for 2 hours squatting, and then 2 days for 1 hour, right? So I'm at the gym 4 hours a week, right? For 3 days. I spend more time on the shitter than I spend at the gym, right? You know, I spend more time in the shower. Well, that depends on the week. But the point I'm getting at is, but people would still consider me to be in pretty good shape. Like, that's the goal. Like, I don't want to, it's not this, you know, this vain sort of external thing. I mean, listen, I like looking fit and healthy and good and, you know, big and muscular, but ultimately it's how much am I willing to invest in that, you know? I invest more time in a single day doing homework than I spend at the gym in a week. So I think it's just priority, you know, finding out what the priorities are, but also being realistic. Every hour over that 4 hours I spend at the gym, or 5 hours, or 6 hours, or 10 hours at the high, there's a point of diminishing returns. So I really sort of cease to get the results that are really worth it for me. You know, on the subject of, you know, fans and viewership and you know, kind of looking at it across the, you know, nearly 20 years, I feel like my engagement when I was competing was high because I for me it was approval. You know, any athletes are generally pretty, you know, really good athletes are some people might not like me saying this, but are usually pretty damaged people, right? Like, in order to just invest so much time and effort into something, that you might be successful in. It's not for the mentally sound people, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's an outlet for people, and a much needed outlet. And for me, to get back, I'll get to the fan thing in a second. But for me, you know, I grew up in a tough environment, and with very little supervision. And I think, well, I know when I posted stuff online, it gave me, the feedback that I think I so desire. And I could say that now, as a 42-year-old guy, I'm aware of that. At 22, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that, the things that I did that motivated me and that drove me, the drive for acceptance, validation, that was something that, derived from childhood. I'm not expecting people to go out there and, have this sort of, coming to Jesus moment of like, oh my God, this is why. No. It wasn't. It was something that I enjoyed. It wasn't a bad thing. I mean, and along the way, listen, I have and I feel weird saying fans, but the people that follow me and that have supported me, some for 20 years. I know guys like Rob Holt, for instance. Probably for every bit of those 20 years. I've met the guy. He's come to the United States from England. He's a guy from England. I think his wife's Vicky, but there's another woman, I forget her name. She asked me to post a video for her son, and that was an 800-pound squat. Like, there's been fans that, and I engage with them, and for me, it's just a level of appreciation that anyone really gives a shit about what I'm doing. For me, it's like cooking dinner for your family every night, and then, having the neighbors over to have a bit of it, and they're like, this is fantastic. Like, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy working out. I enjoyed competing, and then I enjoyed sort of, when I couldn't compete and, posting these videos of my training. And, and in the act of doing that, I got people that liked, the dinner I was cooking, so to speak, right? They liked what I was putting out there. And, I'm deeply indebted to those people because, it's about you tear a bicep, and and the thing that you love doing, the outlet, is gone. I mean, it's tough, and that's why when I broke my back, or when I ruptured the discs in my back, I was like, I'm gonna race cars. I'm gonna be a car racer, right? Like, because I was scared. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, what like I don't as anyone that knows me will tell you, I don't sleep a lot. I work, go to school, kids, building a car. I built numerous cars, bikes. Like that's my thing. Is I enjoy doing stuff like that. So, so I think the fans. I kind of got off topic there, but I think that, the people that watch what I've done. It's been a journey, and I think they want to know a little bit more about me, and that is a very interesting thing for me to really wrap my head around. I get it now. I'm a little older. I was engaged in social media and YouTube at a while ago, a long time ago, and I was able to get some people that follow me and fans that liked what I was doing, but. In that time frame, I've kind of abandoned them because the content that they liked from me was just different. It was like breaking baseball bats and just fun stuff, it just. And I think that people got to know my personality and my ex-wife. Well, it was my girlfriend, then wife, fiance, then wife, and now ex-wife. She filmed a lot of the stuff, and I think people got to know her, through that process. And I'm still. Close with her. Obviously, I have 2 kids with Kristen, but so I think that there's now my goal is to really re-engage, reconnect with those people that have been so loyal to me, and that's why this endeavor has been something that I've been very interested in doing, but I've been kind of putting it off because it's I didn't even know really how to get started again, because it's just like now social media is just like all encompassing. I mean, it's just multiple formats, and people expect something that's more than just a video of me doing like a lift like it was back in the day. You know, now it's far more polished and you know, it's different. What I'm most looking forward to is just seeing what happens, I guess. Maybe even having a voice, as you know, as ironic as that sounds, but there's that saying, you know, well that I'll call it a saying, but you know, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around, doesn't make a sound, right? Anyone that's seen my training knows it's not like I rode off into the sunset. You know, it's just I train like an absolute asshole, and I don't use that term lightly. I mean, I train with with a guy that's quite a bit younger than me, but I've trained with a group of guys that are, you know, half my age at times. My stepson who just turned 19, and you know, it's not that they can or can't keep up. It's not like that. It's just I hold my own, and I'm not trying to hold my own. Like I like to push it. And when my stepson Collins, like, I can't feel my hands, like, you know, and like he's telling me that, like, I'm, you know, halfway through the back workout, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not like, oh, wuss, you know, no, I'm like, oh, because the way I train is all open hand grip. Everything's is very grip intensive, you know, or when I'm doing 100 rep curls and the guy's like, I can do that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize it was a competition, you know, a guy that I was training with a couple months ago. And he does it and then he can't straighten his arm for a week, you know. And then I got another buddy who will train with me occasionally. He just gets it, you know, like John, you know, a training partner, John gets it. Like, it's not a competition. It's just what I do, and so I'm looking to kind of show that in the last decade I haven't really changed, other than I'm, you know, less hair, train a little bit lighter, but with the same sort of intensity and desire of just really picking myself apart and finding out where my weaknesses are, and for no other purpose. I mean, I'm not competing. It's just because I can, which I think is better than if I'm motivated by winning a competition or whatever. It's just most people watching a video like this are just training just to be the best version of themselves, and that's all I'm doing. You know, I happen to have the ability to perhaps capture an audience and do the same. And that's it. That's the goal.